The Senate on Tuesday rejected a proposal to replace traditional subsidies for certain crops and shift the money to conservation and nutrition and biofuels programs. It would have replaced the subsidies with an insurance program tied to farm revenues. Senators, none of you were there for the vote. How would you have voted and why? You have 1 minute, starting with Senator Dodd.
Well, I would have voted for it. I think Tom Harkin's been doing a terrific job in changing the direction, the reforms in agriculture. And the idea of encouraging more conservation, being good custodians of the land. I often pointed out here as I travel around the state that people have reminded me that Iowa represents as much as 10%, maybe more, of the most fertile land in the world here. And the generation of Iowans here, all of us bear responsibility to see to it that this incredible world global resource is going to be preserved and protected. So moving in a direction here that encourages the diversity of farming in the state, I think makes a great deal of sense. That encourages conservation and alternative uses are ones that all of us ought to support, not only Iowans, but across this country, so that we preserve this very valuable resource for fiber, food, and energy as you're developing here in this state.
Senator Obama.
You know, I have made as a centerpiece for my rural farm agenda that we lower the subsidies, that we cap the subsidies, because too many of them are going to agribusiness. We've got folks in Manhattan who are getting farm subsidies. We've got Fortune 500 companies who are getting farm subsidies. And as a consequence, family farms are getting squeezed out. And you're seeing more and more consolidation. This is something you hear about all across rural Iowa. So what I would do is I would cap those subsidies. I think we have to have a structure that provides protection of farmers from drought or a collapse in market prices. But we have to take that money that is saved, invest in conservation, invest in organic and alternative crops, invest in nutrition programs. Through that process, we can not only save the land, but we can also improve the economic engines in a lot of these rural communities. And that is something that I'm absolutely committed to doing as President of the United States, but it's going to require overcoming the excess influence of agribusiness in Washington.
So would you have voted for or against the proposal Tuesday?
There were elements of the proposal on Tuesday that I think did not make the changes the way I would have approached it. So I probably would have voted against it, but there was a vote today that I voted for that would have capped the subsidies so that it wouldn't be going to these folks who don't deserve them.
Senator Biden.
I would have voted for it. Look, you know, one of the interesting things, first time I ever come out to Iowa was with Senator Culver on his first campaign in '74. One thing seems different now. You ride across this magnificent state, you see so much open land and so few farmers. It's kind of fascinating. You know, you'd think you'd see a farmhouse every, 800 acres or so. But the irony is, this is all about how do you preserve family farmers? There's only 550,000 of them left. And if you continue the system the way it is, it's breaking the system. It's going to just flat break the system. And the cost of, an acreage has gone up with these excessive payments. The fact that we're not focusing on the things which the farm program started out to focus on, helping farmers in distress and being the ballast when the market was out of whack. It's gotten all out of whack. And so it seems to me that we need a radical change. Tom is working hard on that, but I would have voted for it, and I voted for I voted today the same way Brock and all the rest of us did to maintain, to lower the caps.
Senator Clinton, how would you have voted?
Yeah.
Well, I think you're referring to the Lugar-Lautenberg bill, and I have been following Senator Harkin's lead on what needs to be done with the farm bill, so I would have voted against that and then voted, as I did today, for the limit on subsidies. But this really goes beyond a particular amendment. There's so much that we could do that would really help family farmers and help rural development. I've got a dozen or so of my family farmers from New York traveling around Iowa today, talking to family farmers about what I've been trying to do to open up more markets, to give more support, to see rural economic development more broadly. So we do need a farm bill, and Tom Harkin's been working like a Trojan to get it done, and he's making progress, but he keeps getting beaten back all the time on conservation, on environmental stewardship, on subsidy limits. And when I'm president, we're going to finally make these changes, because I believe that if we don't, we're going to see increasingly our family farmers as an endangered species. That's not good for any of us. So I'm going to do everything I can to get to a point where we truly have a farm policy for family farmers.